Bonsoir! Hello and welcome back to that series today, and we'll be playing like 20 puzzles of checkmate in 3 moves, and here is the last puzzle we did last week. And I remind you that you can type the solution of the first move of the puzzle that you consider to be right in the chat below, and just include the sign plus before so that it appears in the stream. So the puzzle, the last puzzle, I show you quickly a solution that works. We can consider that the elephant here is already a threat if the rook moves, but we can like sacrifice the rook that check, and here cannon takes and we are checked, so that seems to be in bad position, but we can bring the rook here so that stop the check and also bring check with the elephant, and now we have 2 threats here and we are able to deliver checkmate. So that was the last puzzle, and let's go for this puzzle, and you have 100 seconds to try to think about it and find the checkmate in 3 moves. So first thing to notice is about the king. The king is safe and there's no big deal about that, and the cannon here is very well positioned as it blocks all the squares, so we simply need to lock the king into those squares. And there's also the elephant that may check if the pawn moves, so we may try to go with the rook with 82-83 check. The move is forced, and here there is like only this move that makes chance for a check, because here simply king takes, so rook check again. And here in that position, that's not possible to find a checkmate. The square here is covered by the guards, so that won't be working. However, if we try to go with the pawn, we'll have slight better chance, because we can check, and now the rook holds the square, the elephant also, and the pawn forced the king to back rank, and in that case, if rook takes, the elephant will come back, and that won't be working, but we are able to control the squares using this, the rook from that side, and right now that's checkmate. So it's better to use the pawn to be able to control this square rather than the rook, because if we go with the rook, then there's no way for continue the attack later. We could think about like knight here, but the same, the rook is stuck and the pawn, so here there's like nothing, and basically there's like nothing else to say about this puzzle. We may try check. Oh, okay, and that's walking also a bit more different. So pawn here was also a solution. Okay, and let's go for the next one. Yeah, plus 0.5, 25 is clearly forced, but what comes next? Plus 76, 77. Okay, so uh, the king was checked by the rook, and the only way to check back the king is to come back with the cannon. And here in that configuration, we don't have so much pieces that are able to attack. This rook is too far away, so we have basically those pawns and maybe the two cannons. So we may go for a pawn check. The move is forced, and here the way to checkmate in one move is to provide a double check. So moving in the diagonal, that's check, check, and so checkmate. However, blue had another solution. So take, and here he's not forced to take the knight. He can bring the guard here, for example, but that will be the same problem. Check and checkmate because of the double check. And he may also bring the king back here. And in that case, the way is to think about the fact that if the pawn reaches that square and is protected, then that's checkmate. So we need to find a way in two moves to bring the pawn here to checkmate, because that's kind of the best chance we have since the cannon is threatened. So we move this pawn or this pawn, no matter. Let's say check. So here the king is checked, and what we just did is simply to bring a support for the cannon. So if king goes there, checkmate, and if king takes, then checkmate. Same problem. The elephants are not covering. Sorry for the wrong mistake. Are not covering what's on the flight. So even if the move was forced, the first one, that was a tricky one. Let's say for a checkmate in two moves. So yeah, let's go for the next one. Mm. Alright, so here the king is kind of protected even if there is a cannon there, but in the other side there is like one way, two ways to check, and checking with the rook is not great, so we go for check with the pawn and taking the cannon, so there's no any more problems here. And right now we need to find a solution to checkmate in two moves. We could try to go with the rook, for example, check, but here there's nothing we can do anymore, no way to check, so that's not it. We can try to go here and maybe try to find a checkmate, but the problem is that in order to check we need to move this knight, and this knight is used to protect the elephant in the center, so that won't be a solution. So the solution is to check with the elephant, because the elephant is providing a very good, sorry for the arrow, support controlling those two squares, and here we can simply back rank checkmate since that square is controlled. And the other solution was check. If the king goes here, that's a bit trickier because this square and this one are controlled by the rook, by the knight, by the elephant, but still the rook cannot checkmate here because of the knights, so we need to find a way to activate this knight that may checkmate, since if we go here that's not working because the king has a way to go somewhere else. We could try to go here, but that's the same problem. The king is now free to go here, but there is one remaining square, and it is the one and only good solution is to bring that knight to the center so that the elephant blocks, the rook blocks, and the knight check, and the knight is protected by the elephant. So that's a kind of a very funny checkmate, and yeah, I like it. And that's solved for that puzzle, so let's go for the next one. Again, checkmate in 3 moves. Yeah, Kelden, I will answer your question. Yeah, the first move, I mean, there was like two ways to check the sacrifice. Doesn't work at all. So basically check, and indeed the king is forced kind of back rank. So, and the king cannot flee to that square, and that's this detail that will make us win. And we need to pay attention in the orders to move. So we have basically the cannon and the pawn that are able to attack. But if we go with the pawn before knight takes, we can go for the cannon, and that's not checkmate. So we have to go with the cannon before check. The other move could be knight here, but that's the same. And now, since the knight is not able to take the pawn, we can go with the pawn in the end. So that was the solution. It was to go with the cannon first to remove the defender, and boom. That's how it works. So remind us in those kind of position that even if you have an elephant, the elephant may quickly jump in the fortress. Here it wasn't useful. But yeah, the cannon was the key for that problem. Not sure I found it. I think I don't have it. So my idea was to go with the rook, but the problem is that there's no checkmate in that situation. So I was thinking about knight check, but that's basically the same problem, since there's no way to checkmate in that position. And the other only way to check is to go with the knight. So knight check. Knight check, and here I need to find a checkmate in one move, but there's something I am missing, because yeah, I could go with the cannon. I had a look at it, but that doesn't help so much. So that must be rook takes. Oh, rook takes. Yeah, sorry. And that's just using the two rows as to block the rows of the opponent king. So the mistake was to take with this rook. That's in that position that leads to nowhere, but more think it as a way to take the files. Okay, that was a good one. I failed on this one, and that's it. So yeah, let's go for the next one. Yep, sorry. Six. Alright, so we're beginning to consider this move, so that's nice because that was not so easy to find at first glance, but I haven't checked that. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. So here that's check, and in that position there's not so much to do because if we go with the pawn then rook takes, and there's like zero way to check the king. So that's a nice hidden move that won't be the solution. What's important to consider is also this elephant, because this elephant threatens that square that will be a protection for the pawn. So before we remove the rook and then we check, and since the knight is covering we can checkmate because that's blocked by the elephant. So that was the solution, and I show you a variation. So here the king may flee here, but that's directly checkmate because the knight covers on the pawn, so that's not working. Check. If the king goes here, that's checkmate because the elephant is covering this square. And what else do we have? Yeah, cannon takes, check. And here the king has to go here or here. We already saw that variation, and here it's basically the same, and the knight is again providing the support to prevent. So those were the variation for that problem, and everything works fine. So let's go for the next one. Okay, got it. Okay, there is, I would say, two families of solution. So the first one is like all of us decided is to move the knight no matter where. But the idea behind that is that it provides check with the rook, but still what's the most important is that the knight is covering the center, because here we lose the rook, but that's... Oh, okay, but that does checkmate in 4 moves, so I forgot the knight here. Still, that was not the only solution I came with. The other one is a bit more elegant, so that cannon takes in order to check. And what's to notice here is that this pawn and this knight are both pinned. So right now we may go for cannon rook check. If king here, then rook checkmate back rank, like this, because there's nothing that blue can bring. And here it doesn't work because the knight can come back. So we need to find another way to checkmate in that situation. And I think I oops, I think I completely messed up the situation. So because check, and I was thinking about here, but the king simply goes to the center, and that's not satisfying. So (95-76). But I am kind of losing when there is a king opposition. So check. Okay, maybe the idea is to why not rook after cannon? Check. Yeah, but that's still mate in 4 move. Oops, sorry, messed up. Right rook, then left. You mean like check? Yeah. Again, that was the same idea, and I'm kind of blind. What if he goes for blah 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 knight in that position? Rook check. There is only one move, that's to remove, and here we have a nice checkmate because the cannon is covering both. So since the knight is removed from here, we can use the cannon to threat. So that was the variation. And oops, sorry for again missing the idea of the rook, or and boom, where that's the checkmate. So the lesson of today is think about how to cooperate well with the 2 rooks. Yep. Does it work with the cannon at the beginning? No, it doesn't work with if you begin with the by moving the cannon. Alright, so what do we have here? Hmm. Okay, so here we have a king safe unless the pawn moves somewhere else, but there's no real sense to leave that pawn. And we have also a cannon that is doing a great job by controlling those two squares and protecting the elephant, and a majority from that side. So I think that was suggested was to go with the knight and check, so 73-95 check. And here we need to find the checkmate in 2 moves, and I'm not sure that will be possible because by bringing the knight like this we lost the protection of the elephant, so even if check, the king can go back to the middle and like there's no way to checkmate. More important, I think, is to consider that the king is kind of already very blocked and the knight may have a strong influence on this square. So a way to proceed is to kind of sacrifice this pawn and sacrifice again, and if and now the king took, so that square is blocked, this one is blocked, and we simply push the pawn, and that's checkmate. The variation that was if the king didn't take the pawn but went here, we simply bring the knight, and that's checkmate because the pawn still there was covering the square. So the idea was more to go with the pawn. We could also take the elephant, that's actually the same thing. We can also double check here and boom, checkmate. But to use the fact that there is a support for this square and that the cannon is doing a beautiful job. Okay, so we have a very empty fortress and 2 rooks, so this time I will not get into the trap if there is a back rank checkmate. Not sure I got it actually. Yeah, but there is a little detail is that the elephant may come back here, so that will block checkmate. So here what's to consider is that we already have a cannon having great influence here, since the elephant here is providing a support, so we may try to go for rook check. That move is forced, and here let's go for elephant check. Yeah, and the detail is that this elephant is also covering that square, the rook is blocking this one, so we can simply take and the game is over. So I believe that was the only one solution. Check, and here the problem is that that's not possible to go with the knight. The other solution could be try to go with the elephant, but that's directly losing it and losing the support, so that was the only solution. Check, elephant here forced, and rook checkmate, boom. Okay, so that's a lot of red material around blue's fortress. Okay, this knot is not the best one. Yeah, so I will kind of accelerate this one. The idea is the same, is to use the control on that file. We can check that the knight both protect themselves, so that piece is okay. So there is two possibilities. The logical one is to go simply for cannon check, and since the rook is blocking the king, the only move is to bring the rook here. But before that, it's possible to sacrifice a knight, so simply rook takes and rook checkmate. That's over. We could also checkmate with the pawn, since the knight is covering this square. And in kind of the same idea, we can force the king to retreat before. Rook takes is not allowed because that was cannon and pawn double check. And since the knight is covered, we simply need to get control of this file, and we achieved it the same way. So the situations are very similar. But mind the idea that when you have a cannon and a piece, you can sometimes you are able to extract the king for the third rank. I mean, it hits the 7th rank, and that may be good in games to have the enemy kings here, because it can't be protected by guards or whatever. So that's possible to extract a king by sacrificing when you have a pawn in support, because you prevent the piece from taking. Alright, and now, like, not so much material for red, but still there is a checkmate to find. Okay. taking the cannon kind of forced. Don't forget that we have a cannon here, won't be useful, but sometimes cannon can quickly jump. Here it doesn't work at all because there's a rook and it can check. But the idea is to use the fact that those pieces are well messed up, that the elephant is simply blocking something in fortress and has 0 squares. So we remove the defender and the knight is in a great position. So the other piece that may attack is the rook, kind of forced, and here that's checkmate because the elephant is blocking, nothing can be brought, and the knight was covering this square, so nothing else to say about this one. And that's natural that if there is not so much pieces for Han for red, it's easier to find the solution because there is less combination to consider. Plus 75, 6. Yep, that's it. Yeah, it works, and that's the only solution actually. And it seems weird because you can think that you are kind of splitting the pawn and not achieving anything, but the real difference in your combination is that before the pawn was attacking from this side and now it attacks from that side, and that will free some square for the knight. So let me explain how it works. We have a king that is basically locked. This pawn is covering here, so the king is locked between those two squares. Already the knight is covering one, so if we are able to simply threaten the king, then that's checkmate. But we cannot with the knight here. There's no elephant, there's no cannon, there's nothing. So there is only 2 moves. I can't see my own message in the stream. How? I don't know. It should have been directly a copy. Maybe something failed. I will tell the guy that that was in charge of that script. No, it's not. Maybe the comma made a... I have no idea. So check, and the problem of that check is that the knight is not covering anymore. So if we go back here, we haven't achieved anything. So check, and now the subtlety is to go the other side so that the knight still threatens, and boom, checkmate with the pawn in that situation. Alright, and I guess that's all for this one. Oh, okay, that's about, I don't know, maybe you are, I don't know, detected as a spammer or talking too much, or I don't know. Okay, but next puzzle has already started. Yeah, it could be detected as a... because you are not allowed to write external links or reference in public chats like this. So maybe it was passed as a message, phone call. Alright, this one is not very interesting. Yeah. Great pawn, covering the fleeing for the king, so naturally, since there's not so much material, the idea is to bring the rook, so boom, we take a knight, we take the other knight, and that's checkmate. And there's like no other way. We could think about checking mate on the center, but that we need a piece to do this, and sacrificing simply does nothing. We could do it, that's exactly the same to do like this, because we removed the defender and we moved for that. But yeah, the straight and the more natural is simply to bring the rook. Alright, that's puzzle 54, and we'll stop at puzzle 60. Oh, and Julien, I think you fell in a little trap. There was a small trap in that problem. Still, we can see that like this king is in very bad shape. There is already a lot of threats of a discovery check or double check, and we could think about going for double check. So the king is forced to go here, and simply this square is not defense, so we could like rook checkmate. But there is an issue, is that there is a king opposition, and simply king takes king, and in that application that's considered as a loss. In real life that would consider as stopping the game and counting the points, or agreed for a draw. So that was the problem. Yeah, there is king opposition on in-app, but otherwise that would be checkmate in 2. So before we neutralize that column, that will lose a tempo. After we go for the elephant, and right now we can conclude bringing the rook here. So we have to kind of lose a tempo in order to avoid the king opposition. And yeah, that's in that application. And oops, I began the next puzzle. In that application, that's something to consider. Alright, so let's go for the next one, and that shouldn't be too hard considering all the red material. Yeah, 9101 seems to be the straight solution. Check, knight, check, and here checkmate, because that's covered. The cannon covers the knight. So that's exactly the same idea, but we can also kind of exchange the way the configuration is done. So check, that's a rook sacrifice. Now checking with the pawn, forcing the king to go back and eliminating the knight from defending, and boom, checkmate. That was the other solution, but in a game, this one you sacrifice a rook, and this one you are totally fine. I was also trying to see if the elephant could be useful, but there was nothing, since if check, the rook can come back and block that. Alright, puzzle 56. And again, a very empty fortress for blue. Okay, so we may try to go with the knight, but the problem is that the king can go to that square, because let me show you this way. Blah blah blah. Knight check, and for example we could think that the knight would simply end the threat, but the problem is that since we brought a knight, that gives the support for the cannon, so rook check, 2 moves possible, and wherever the king goes, let's say here, we can bring the rook to the corner, and that's a nice rook corner checkmate. So that works if knight takes knight, but if the king goes this way, yeah, we can also. I'm not sure that works. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. So another idea that we can try is to use cannon for support, and that will give better results, since the knight is also used. The king is completely locked here, so we can simply conclude with the rook. So knight check. The king could go here or here, and that's basically the problem in the other side. If the king goes to that square before, king here, rook check, king goes back, pawn checkmate, because the cannon does the job. Not so easy one. You almost had it, Julian, but you missed a small detail that is the difference between your move and my move. But before that, we can see that we have a cannon and a guard in the fortress that kind of blocks the king for fleeing, since most of the attack is from this side. And we can also check that if the king goes here, the pawn may be able to checkmate if the king is blocked. We cannot go easily for the rook here, because if we take, and here there's like nothing else to attack. So we have to use the fact that the fortress is very awkward for blue. And the idea is to go with the cannon check, and that's forcing the knight out. And here comes the nice move, and the nice move is to sacrifice the pawn, because if the king takes the pawn, then we have rook checkmate, because the cannon is blocking the way to flee. Otherwise, if the king does not accept, he has only one square to go, because the rook controls here, and if he goes there, then simply pawn pushing and checkmate. So 87, 86 check, elephant check, yeah. Oh. Yeah. The detail was about the fact that the knight was kind of providing check. And the problem about the move of bringing the cannon here is that there is a knight here that can that could go. It takes and checkmate. Oh, so that was also working, because so check could stop like this, and here we need to find a checkmate in 2 moves, and yeah, that was the same idea. So no, your move was working. Sorry for miscalculating this. So boom, yep. Okay, okay. So that's to take, and if flees, then checkmate, completely blocked. And that's all. And let's go for puzzle 58. With again 2 rooks and an empty fortress. Seems that there is a lot of similar configuration in that specific series. Alright, so not so much to do since the cannon is annoying for the rook and we don't have a piece already supporting the center of the fortress, so there's no possibility to use that rook. We may try to go and move this rook, but that would kind of open the middle and there's no way to conclude properly. So way better than this is to completely lock the king, like 0 square to go, and simply threaten with a piece. The elephant goes, that's why it's checkmate in 3 and not in 2 moves, but nothing so interesting about this one. Simply check. And here, is there something funny to try? Like, no, not even. So let's go for puzzle 59, and there only will be one after this. Hmm, 91, 95. Alright, so here about, don't forget there is a cannon defending, but more than that we also have a cannon that may be useful, and we have already a lot of pressure here, so the best to do is simply to dig. That could be 91, 96 or 99, 96. The move is kind of forced because if the king goes somewhere else, then rook checkmate because it's supported by the other one. So here rook takes, the cannon is finally useful, and right now we need to find the checkmate in one move, and we could see that the elephant is providing a potential check, so we could go for rook here because the cannon covers that square, that's check, and the rook does the rest of the job, or more natural, simply using the cannon and the rook to checkmate close to the king. And 91, 95, yeah, pawn takes and leaves red in a very bad situation. Let's go for the last puzzle for today. Okay. Alright, so here the king is safe, but that's important to consider that if the cannon comes back, then that's check. For example, rook check is not a good idea because that's check and we are forced to sacrifice the rook against the cannon, and here there's like nothing to conclude. But there is a great knight here, and also already a great elephant forcing the center. So if we are able to remove the guard and bring the rook to the center, that's checkmate. And we may try to do this, so check. You can... Oh yeah, there is also the cannon. Not sure because he... I will check that after. I haven't considered this. So check and checkmate because the elephant covered. Yeah. Looks like it works. So let's try this. That's protected. That's protected. Check. Ah, but he simply removed the guard. Yeah, go somewhere else. That's the problem of the cannons when they are not like completely locked pieces. So yeah, no, that wasn't working. We can try to go the other way. So if king here, then rook takes check mate directly. No, king here and rook takes mate. So right now we go for check, and that's completely useless. So the idea was, yeah, to remove the guard and use the great elephant. And I think that those were the only solutions. Let me again have a look about this one. Check. Yeah, no, whatever comes with knight check rook and everything is locked and check, then nothing to expect. So yeah, that was all for this one, and thanks for joining that stream today. It was like not so much people, but still thanks. And also next week I won't be able to stream Friday, so I will stream Thursday, the day just before. So if you want to join, then feel free. And yeah, that's all for tonight. Yeah, see you.